For the most part, like I called this a interview. It's not me trying to, argue against you. I may try to bring up points to see how you answer them.
Okay.
But I'm not here to, discredit you. You just say, whatever you believe, think, or how you would find the answer.
Sure. I mean, I'm nobody anyway, so I mean, if you discredit me, it doesn't really matter. Like, who knows who I am?
Everyone has a voice, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's the many voices that made, the whole flat Earth movement a thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, I would guess I would start with the you are a flat earther, but you don't want to call yourself that. More of a globe denier.
I'm definitely not a flat earther. Not because I mean that would be like saying atheist rather than agnostic. You know, if you definitely know that the Earth's flat, then you can call yourself a flat earther. I don't think that the ball Earth model adds up, and so I'm open to ideas. So I call myself a ball Earth skeptic, and that's where I am. You know, I wouldn't call myself a flat earther.
There's one answer.
I believe there's an answer, but I don't think I know it. Yeah, exactly. But I'm open to ideas. And
do you have any state of the world in mind, like the one you're leaning towards the most?
See that? Yeah. Now you're asking me for a faith position because I couldn't say the Earth is most likely to be this, and here's the evidence. So, but I mean, as far as I'm aware, the Earth isn't moving, and so if the Earth isn't moving, then the Earth can't be the globe that we're told it is. From that position, anything's possible. Are we on an infinite plane? Maybe. Are we in a dome? Maybe. Are both of those models completely wrong? Maybe. I can't. I like to follow evidence, and I don't really like to take faith-based positions on anything.
Right. So something has led you to go against the globe theorem. What would that be? What would be the main factor?
I mean, to be honest, people always ask, "Oh, what made you sort of go along this line of thought?" I mean, I could ask the same thing. What made you first believe in a globe? I think the thing is that you come across information that makes you challenge your own worldview, and then that kind of cracks open the door, so to speak. And then you kind of go off in that direction, and you look to see if there's legitimate evidence. I understand there's loads of like nonsense out there as well, mainly propagated by sort of the Flat Earth Society, and so I would advise anyone to avoid them. But you start to look at the different models, and you realize that nothing quite adds up, and that it's okay not to know. And so then with that kind of with the idea of open scientific inquiry and saying, I've just been told that the Earth moves, but I haven't been told like the basis for this. And so when you look at the basis for the motion of Earth, it's basically not there. And so if the Earth doesn't move, then can't be the heliocentric model can't be true. So
let me clarify one thing here. By move,
sure.
What do you mean move in which way?
So the globe model would tell you that the Earth moves at 19 miles per second, but it won't tell you how they've measured this, and it certainly won't. I mean, they'll say, this is how it has to work because of the orbital mechanics. But when even people like George Airy tried to measure, and George Airy was an astronomer of the globe persuasion. He tried to measure starlight going down a tube, and he found that the stars were moving and the Earth wasn't. So that's what I mean, is that you've got all of these fantastical numbers, but you don't have the basic proof that they're actually true. So the theory of the globe Earth works within itself, and that's fine. I don't deny that the theory actually works, but it doesn't appear to have solid foundation within the real world.
So, essentially, you were given all the questions, but you don't feel the answers stand up.
I feel as though the questions and the answers are well suited to each other, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um,
So is that you stating that you believe the Earth is not in motion?
no, it's not that I believe in taking faith-based positions. I have not seen an experiment that proves the Earth's motion, and I've seen experiments that prove that the Earth isn't moving. So that's I stay with the evidence. I say, okay, the Earth isn't moving. Until someone can prove that the Earth is moving, it's not moving. Do you see?
Do you have
so
any
there's no faith
specific experiments in mind that?
Sure. I mean, the two that come to mind are Aries failure and the Michelson-Morley, which I'm sure you've heard of. But
barely, honestly.
Okay, fair enough. Well, if you haven't, that's fine. It doesn't really matter because there's other experiments out there, and you can do your.
I know them by name, but not the experiment.
Okay. Well, I would suggest kind of looking a bit more into those two. They're quite sort of old experiments, but these experiments were quite fundamental, and parts of the theory of relativity had to be molded around. They were so what's the word? They were so fundamental to the sort of the ball Earth model that was already being pushed at the time, that relativity had to be invented basically to get around them. So it's very interesting if you understand how the current ball Earth model was crafted. Then you'll understand why these things are as they are. So it's very hard for me in sort of like a small interview to go, well, here's the path that that these theories took. But I would say that I'm open to the Earth moving. I don't want to be some sort of weird social outcast where I believe things that are weird. But all I can say
is cube shape, and we're gonna fall.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually a pineapple. Obviously no. Like I that's why I don't make comments on the shape of the Earth. I don't know. I don't know. It could be triangle shaped.
Is there anything that you feel for certain?
Well, that the Earth doesn't move. That's the only thing that I know for certain. Okay. Other than that,
what about map of the Earth? Like, I mean, is there
cartography has its own
projection that fits well with what you think it is?
Cartography is an interesting subject in itself because even cartographers will tell you that no map is accurate. So it's not about what I believe is the truest map. It's that cartographers themselves will tell you that there's no way of getting it spot on. So I would say, I mean, the answer is no, but it's not just me thinking that. That's kind of the standard.
So, why would the sky? We look up into the sky. Why would we see objects like the sun, the moon, Mars all be spherical?
Sure. I mean, that's an observation. Does it prove that they are actually big balls of rock and gas? Not sure it does. That's not to say that they aren't. But I mean, again, it's coming back to the evidence. You're saying, well, there's these round things in the sky. Sure. I mean, if you saw a flying saucer in the sky, that would appear spherical as well. But it's actually not a sphere. It's a flying saucer. So,
but we do see these objects like Mars rotate, and we see the other side of it.
Have you seen Mars rotate? Not in like a CGI model of it, but have you personally whipped out camera and actually seen Mars rotate?
Mars, no, but Jupiter, yes.
Mm. Okay. So, but we're using the example of Mars because that's the one you used.
Yes.
So when you say I've seen Mars rotate, and then 10 seconds later you're telling me you haven't,
By
do you
I
see,
or
like,
we, I mean
it's a problem.
as a culture. So apologies
Sorry?
for that. When I say I or we, I mean as a culture and not exactly me per se. So apologies if that led you weird.
No, that's fine. I mean, I would say that I don't agree that that's the case. I think that anyone who's seen Mars rotate has seen it in a computer graphic image version, and not it, the orange dot in the sky itself. I would have to be shown Jupiter rotating. I'm not sure that that's the case either. But if it is, then I'd be open to it. I'm not against evidence. So show me it.
Even when it comes down to orbits, optically, without digital aid, we have seen the moons of Jupiter just orbit around Jupiter, and their orbits are rather fast, so we can see some of them complete their orbit in one Earth night.
Sure. I mean, again, like when you're looking at history, people were claiming to have seen the moons of Jupiter orbit around Jupiter with like a 24 times zoom camera, which is impossible. So I would need to actually be shown that. I haven't seen that myself, and I've done a lot of investigation in this area. So if you have a video that's clearly not CGI, that shows moons orbiting around Jupiter, I'm open to seeing it.
I believe at this current time of year you're in the northern hemisphere, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So towards the south at nighttime, you should actually be able to see Jupiter, I believe.
Well, as I say, if you've got evidence you can show me, I'm happy to see it. Always happy to see evidence.
I'm just stating this is the prime time. Pull out a telescope, plop it down, see what you see.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I see moons, then I'll tell you.
Yeah, there are some programs I could suggest later to figure out where they are in the sky.
The moons or Jupiter itself?
Any heavenly body.
Right.
So
okay,
let's skip that bit and just talk about the sky in general. So if the Earth doesn't move and the sky presumably moves?
I mean, the sky moves in both models anyway. So if you know about the heliocentric, so like often people will say, "Oh, it's ridiculous that the sky moves." Well, I mean, the heliocentric model says that the sun moves, and that all the stars move anyway. So I don't think that this is like particularly like silly to say that the stars move, because everyone believes that. It's just how.
So are they? What you're getting at is we're stuck in stuck in motion, not moving, while everything else moves around us.
I mean, that's one explanation, yes.
Are they formatted in any way? Like, do you subscribe to the dome firmament idea?
No, this is what I said at the start of the interview. I don't know that it's a dome. I don't know that it's an infinite plane. I don't know any of that. But also, I would be very wary of people who claim that they do know, because they don't have any evidence. So if someone says, "Oh, I know it's a dome because the Bible says so," okay, that's really weak. Or I know that it's a dome because here's a picture. Here's a picture of sundogs. Right? That's not evidence of a dome.
Therefore, flat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't trust imagery really at all, and so I can't. I can't trust the imagery that NASA puts out. And in fact, I can show you.
Why would that be?
Well, I don't trust many authorities, so I don't know why NASA would be a special exception. But then also, if I don't trust their imagery, then why would I trust the imagery of a flat earther who goes, "Oh, here's a sundog"?
Okay,
Like
let's
images can be
assume-
manipulated. So
Let's assume government agencies like NASA are lying. What about private companies like SpaceX?
sure. I mean, now you're getting into the realms of tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. But what I would suggest is that the elites all know each other and they all work together. And if NASA was set up, let's put it this way, okay? If the Earth is a ball and I'm wrong, and everything's wonderful, okay? So that's your explanation of things, and that's fine. However, if the Earth is a ball, if the Earth is flat, do you think the authorities know that the Earth's flat?
Well, in my opinion, if you were to say there's a conspiracy to keep people from knowing it's flat, then that's probably giving them way too much credit.
Well, yeah, you're probably right there. But let's just go along the train of thought, because we've done the one where the Earth's a ball, and I'm a retard, and everyone else who believes the Earth's flat's a retard. That's one explanation. The other explanation is that the Earth is flat, and that the authorities know that the Earth's flat, and that they're lying about it. Now, in that environment, do you think it's so weird that there would be a conspiracy to hide it?
Well, I can't say for sure, but I don't see the benefit behind trying to hide it.
Sure, and unless you knew the exact state of things, you wouldn't probably know why there would be a motivation to hide it anyway. But all I'm saying is you've got these two explanations, and they both kind of make sense. So when people ask that question, it's a bit like, well, if the Earth was flat, then NASA would be a controlled opposition anyway, right? So it kind of doesn't matter. And if the Earth is a ball, then I'm retarded, and everything's as it appears to be to you. So it's not really like that line of questioning isn't going to get you anywhere in terms of actually uncovering truth.
So, are you saying there may be a conspiracy, or definitely there is?
No, what I'm saying is I don't know that the Earth's flat, but if the Earth is flat, then it must be a conspiracy because they're telling you it's not. So
what kind of benefits do you think would come of lying about the shape?
Sure, I mean, I just answered that as well. If we knew the full state of affairs, then we would understand the motivations for lying. So because you and I don't understand the full state of affairs, we can't possibly know.
Right.
So that's kind of an unanswerable question.
Okay. And if the world were flat, what would be the point of creating NASA in the first place?
Oh, I mean, you could. The tax alone is a good. The money thing alone is a good example of why you would do this.
Right.
If you're able to say, oh yes, we're developing all this technology, give us money, and then the money just kind of disappears. That's one possible explanation. I'm not saying it's true.
We spent $5 billion to develop a pen that works in space.
Yeah, exactly. and how could you? And then you're going to then go and say, oh, by the way, space isn't real. Like, give us my 5 billion back. in your example, like, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but money is a great motivator for a lot of evil deeds. So, why would this be an exception?
Okay. So to jump back a little bit, day-night cycles. Do you have any notion of how they may work?
Sure. I mean, the ball. I actually think that the ball Earth explanation is better here. Obviously, you know what the ball earth explanation is.
Yes.
I think this makes a better argument scientifically, but the flat earth argument is a good one as well. The idea of perspective. If you understand perspective, then you understand that light can disappear when it's far enough away, even if it's still technically above you.
Yeah.
But the problem with that argument is that a lot of people don't understand how perspective works on great distances, and so it's quite tough to then say, well, both models work. And so it doesn't really, like, night and day doesn't prove either model. But I would say I slightly prefer the globe earth explanation of night and day.
It's like I've told some flat earthers with that explanation about perspective. It may appear to cause, day and nighttime, but the problem with the sun on the flat earth, it will never go below the horizon.
That's actually not true. It's just about the perspective line. If you look down a long hallway with no objects in it, then, I mean, do you agree that a hallway would be straight?
Well, if, like, say, you're on an infinite plane and the sun is on its own rotating plane, and assuming the sun always stays above the ground, it will never appear to go below it. It may appear to touch or very faintly go away, but you should always be able to see it.
I don't agree. If you go into a long hallway, have you ever been in a really long hallway?
Trying to think of a really long one, but yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll pull up a picture of a really long hallway. You've got like, the hallway is objectively flat, yet the ceiling appears to come down and the floor appears to go up. Okay, now at the limit of your perspective, all of those four lines disappear. Now, does the hall end at the limit of your perspective, or does it carry on?
Well, I'm assuming if it goes past the conversion lines and then some, then yes, it would carry on.
Okay. So then why can't you see it if it's still above you?
See what exactly?
The ceiling.
But you can.
You've just told me you can't. If the hall carries on, then the ceiling would still be above you, but you can't see it because it's gone past.
It's very small in your vision, sure, but I would say if you get the right, magnitude, you can bring it back into view.
Okay, but I mean, you can do that with the sun as well. If the sun appears to be setting and you zoom in on it, then the sun actually appears to rise up out of the water.
But could you do that at midnight?
I'm sure there's limits to it where you couldn't. But then that comes down to the limitation of the instrument, not necessarily the limitation of the perspective argument.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that I think this is 100% correct. I'm just giving you that explanation, which I still think is quite good, although I don't like it as much as the globe earth one. Like, whatever. I think that both work, and so I don't think that the setting of the sun is like a win for either model.
Right. We are at just about 25 minutes, so I think it's a good time to go through check marks and just see, yay, nay, if you think these common things that other flat earthers would say.
Okay.
So, gravity, is it a thing or not?
Things fall down. That's true. I don't think anyone knows the true cause of it.
You don't think there is the force gravity? We just don't know why they fall.
I mean, the Cavendish experiment isn't a great experiment for proving it, so I would leave that there. I don't think we have a conclusive experiment that proves masses attract each other.
Okay. The ice wall of Antarctica.
Okay.
Is that there?
Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Can't say
I mean,
for
that's kind
certain.
of the dome,
Right.
like the dome explanation needs an ice wall, whereas the infinite plane, I suppose the infinite plane could have it as well.
Could be a series of domes and everything. But beyond that
Sure.
train
I
of
mean,
thought, it's
what?
pure fiction, you know, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I guess the answer is, but maybe.
Okay. Let's see. So I think we already covered shape of the Earth. You're not sure if, like, what shape or what map corresponds to it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Yeah. And cartographers don't know either, so it's not just me.
for the uh, solar and lunar eclipse, do you have any explanation for either of those?
I mean, the problem is that there isn't a good. This is why I don't call myself a flat earther or a bull earther. Like,
Right.
the lunar and solar eclipses don't appear to be, like, neither model has good explanations for them, and so this is kind of difficult. In a lot of flat Earth, people would say Rahu, which is like an invisible body, is what eclipses both the sun and the moon. I don't know that I have evidence for that, so I can't say yes or no. So I'll go with a no until I see evidence. But you have many instances of seeing stars through our moon during sort of oh no, sorry, we're talking about eclipses, aren't we? Sorry, with regards to the eclipses, you have. Do you know what a selenelian is?
Not sure. Can't say.
Okay, so if you look into what a selenelian is, it's technically impossible within the Ball Earth cosmology. Yet we had a selenelian not too long ago. So if something is impossible but happens, then you tell me what that means.
I forget the name for the rule, but there's always that rule. If there's a possibility, it will happen.
Yeah, sure. I think it was Michelangelo that said that if an authority tells you that something is impossible and it happens anyway, then you should discard the authority. And so that's what I've done. Yeah, I don't think the flat Earth explains it well either. I don't. Maybe it does. Maybe there's arguments I haven't seen, but I haven't seen good explanations in either model for eclipses.
Okay. I'm going to dive into two crazy questions. I'm pretty sure you're going to be like, those people are nuts.
Okay.
Australia, is it fake or
Yeah,
real?
Australians definitely nuts. I'll agree with that.
Okay, not Australia being nuts. Sorry.
I mean, I've been to New Zealand, so I haven't been to Australia, but I have been to New Zealand, and
Conspiracy confirmed.
I'm pretty sure it's there. I don't know about Australia. I don't know what relevance that would have either, though. Why would Australia not have to exist?
Honestly, I can't make sense of even the first line of it. So
Okay, I've never heard that. I'll be honest.
Apparently, it's the big divide in the flat Earth community right now, whether or not it's real.
That was it. Okay. Well, I don't know where the Australian cricket team comes from then. Are they kind of like New Zealanders who they're like separatists who don't want to be part of the New Zealand government or something? Who knows? I mean, I think Australia probably is there. um, having not visited it, I can't say for sure. But I'm gonna go with Australia exists for now.
Okay. And then the assuming flat Earth and dome is a thing.
Okay.
Would it be natural or artificial?
Oh, I see. See, the thing is, I think in a more broad sense, you've got these two kind of worldviews. You've got the evolution, Big Bang kind of theory, and you've got the God did it theory. Now, I would say to you that both of these are, they're kind of like a child invented them. So you've got a big man in the sky did it versus nothing exploded, right? So neither of these make any sense.
Well,
and so for me
I
to
would
pick
say
one,
Big Bang goes more of the lines of something exploded. We just don't know where it came from.
well, I mean, technically, they do actually say that it was nothing that exploded, because when you hear a lot of these astronomers, they'll say, like, if you add up all of the energy in the universe, because you've got all this dark energy and negative matter, like if you add it all up, it would equal zero. So they then have to say that the origin of the explosion was nothing, because if there was something, then it couldn't add up to zero afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Slightly.
I I don't know if it's natural or God made, because I think both explanations,
Perhaps
their
not
pants
even
on heads
God made,
retarded.
maybe man made or alien.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, why not? The other two explanations are pretty out there. Something that doesn't exist in the physical realm but exists anyway, that is all powerful, did it, is no more rational than aliens did it.
Right.
And that's not to say that I necessarily believe in aliens, but if you're looking at rationality, there's not a rational answer.
Right. So for closing, do you have any thoughts you wish to get across?
No, not really. It's been a fair interview, actually. I was expecting to be called names, even even though
Oh, you're
you
just
promised
a
you wouldn't.
dummy. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually quite like having these kinds of discussions, because I think that people can have reasonable discussions if they put their ego to one side and just look at evidence.
Right.
I don't think it's an attack on anyone else's personality that I don't believe that we're living on a spinning ball. And if they can bring me evidence that we are, then I may well change my mind, because I changed my mind once before. As a 5-year-old, I believed in.
So pretty much you're on the fence. You don't want to go either way until something actually pulls you to it.
Is this a gravity argument?
Well,
I thought that might be a
your
gravity
mother
joke.
comes out into the yard and go, Ronald, what are you doing on the fence?
Yeah, exactly. No, what I thought you meant is, like, if something pulls you, as in like the Earth, because of gravity. I thought you were doing a gravity joke. Anyway,
you know what they say about gravity? Obey it. It's the law.
Oh, very good. I think I'm probably more on the side of I'm pretty sure it's not a spinning ball in space. But other than that, I'm open to any sort of suggestions. And in fact, if someone proves to me that the Earth actually is moving, then I mean, prove it, not like, oh, here's an experiment, you're an idiot. Like, that's not proof. That's calling me
an
idiot.
Actual constructive argument, not.
Yeah, if someone makes a really good rational argument that shows me the Earth's moving, then I'm open to change my mind. Why wouldn't I be? We all here to seek truth. I would hope.
Yeah, we all have our own realities, I would say, and there's the overall reality.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe in objective truth. I don't really believe in relativism or subjectivity too strongly. So
Okay, I think that was a good time. Like I said, you have nothing more that you could think
No,
of.
no, not really. Not on this subject. I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours, to be honest. But if you want to wrap it up, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's fun. Um, so thank you. Knowing me, it'll probably take a month before it even gets done.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh
but
dear,
yeah.
the thought police are here for me.
Oh God, you're thinking about the flat Earth. The government is coming for you.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah. So
Um,
thank you for being my first interview.
Not a problem at all. I wish your channel great success, and maybe we can talk again in the future if you want to have another chat.
Oh, don't worry. I'm planning a call-in names ceremony pretty soon.
Fantastic. Enjoy that.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.